All right, so this is the advanced optimization for landing pages. I'm Olivier, the CEO of Magnify 360, and a great panel. We're going to try to keep this a lot of time for questions. We have a couple little segments. Trevor Claiborne from Google, Lisa Crossley-Hunter on the end from Commission Junction, and Beth Kirsch, co-founder of uAmplify. So everybody here, a couple of questions. How many publishers here? Lots. Advertisers? Good. So I think what's really interesting about conversion optimization, and specifically landing page optimization, is that it is so important to both sides. And it's the one thing that brings everybody, can lift everybody's boats by generating higher revenues per visitor, higher revenues per eCPMs, eCPCs, things like that. And so I'm really excited to have hopefully some good questions from both sides of the affiliate world. All right, so I'm going to start 98%. That's the size of our problem. Average conversion rates, right? 2%. Some of us would kill for 2%. Some of us are doing better. It depends on the category. But what other industry could you get away with wasting 98% of all of your marketing budgets, of all of your budgets, period? So we've been working at this, though, and everybody has famous formulas for online success. And back in '97, you had to have a website, and it was generally brochureware. '99, it had to be pretty. '01, I don't think there was a formula for success. So then we started thinking about A/B testing and looking at some of the different areas where we could get improvement. And this is where, when I was at Lower My Bills, we really started getting heavily into A/B testing to look at how do we optimize conversion rates. Then Google came around. We figured, well, we can just throw more money out there and do search marketing and do all these other programs and solve most of our problems, optimize those media budgets. And what we're seeing is that everybody's coming back now and saying that one biggest lever is conversion optimization. And the number of people that I've talked to here in the last 2 months since the economy crashed, and everybody's looking at this saying, well, I can't afford to spend my way out of this problem. Now they're thinking about the conversion rates and how do we really get back to being profitable. So I want to talk about the problem and the reason why this is such a challenge. We're all different, right? We're not just clicks. We've got different backgrounds, different needs. And really, we want to have a unique experience for each and every one of us. The one-size-fits-all website doesn't work anymore. And this is when we try to deliver a single landing page for either a whole channel or for a whole product line, we see and we struggle because we're not able to speak to each person that comes to our site. And so when you run A/B testing, you'll see numbers flip-flop because you've got more of one type of person one day, more of another day. Oh, this is a little off. And to prove this point, we were running some tests about just weekend versus weekdays, right? So we've got weekend insomniacs, so in the middle of the night, versus weekday mornings. And what we found, and this is just one example, is that copy-heavy pages perform much better after hours, right? So when you start thinking about even just day parting, and how do you look at the differences in performance of different pages throughout the day, you can imagine as you grow this out across all the other variables how complicated it can be. But fundamentally, it's because we all think differently, right? And you've got people that are really spontaneous, right? They look at an offer and they're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to sign up right now. Other people want that comparison chart and all the check marks that says your product has everything included. Other people, humanistic. They want to know that other people like your product. They need that testimonial, the hero shots. They need all of those reinforcing messages that are really going to make a big difference. Competitive. Hey, what happens if your neighbor gets this first? What happens if your competitor gets this first? I mean, we could expand this. This is only 4 categories. But if you start looking at how different we all are, no wonder this is such a complicated problem. We track performance by profile. And you can see that little bubble says early adopter. You get completely different revenue per visitor and conversion rates for all of these different profiles across a lot of different pages. And so the point of this chart is to say, there isn't one magic answer. There isn't one way that you can group everybody together and serve a single page that's going to work for everybody. It's really about testing and understanding your audiences. So here's the checklist that we use for optimizing conversion rates and designing for the customer. Why are they here today, right? If you think about, put yourself in the customer's shoes, that visitor that's showing up on your site, why did they show up? What did they click on? Do they have an immediate need? Was this something that caught their attention, right? Why did they show up today? How do they think, right? Back to the other chart. Is it about detailed comparison charts? Or is it about how many other people used it? How many successful downloads? How many successful people have had their identity protected by this program? How do they buy, right? What's their evaluation criteria? Is it going to be price sensitive? Are they price sensitive? Are they focused on a discount maybe, which is a little different than price sensitive, right? They want to see the retail price and special deal just for them. And ultimately, what's that engagement model? What's that dialogue, that conversation that they want to have that's going to engage them and bring them in effectively? But more than anything else, right, we have to test everything. And I'm really glad that everybody on the panel is going to, I think, speak to this, and especially Trevor with the Google, he's part of the Google Website Optimizer team. Testing is really critical to all of these things. Just designing a great page doesn't work if you're not analyzing who it works for, who it doesn't, what times of day it works for, what kind of geolocations it works for. So it's important not to make assumptions. And lastly, faster optimization. How fast you can drive new pages, new tests, is ultimately what's going to drive your margin. And not only your margin from all of your marketing dollars, but it's going to enable you to change your pricing on your products. You could even charge more for some of your products, depending on what your model is. You can gain a huge competitive advantage if you have 10% more margin than all of your competitors, right? Because this is a winner-take-all type of environment, right? So figure out how you can make this part of your culture, part of every change that goes onto the website, part of what everybody thinks about every day, testing new ideas as fast as possible. So I wanted to wrap it up pretty quickly and to leave plenty of time for the rest of the panel. Again, my name is Olivier Chaine. I run Magnify 360, and we've got a optimization technology with predictive DNA that helps amplify this. So now I wanted to introduce Trevor. Come on up. We're going to have this mic up.
Yep.
OK. So Trevor is the product marketing manager for the Google Website Optimizer project. And he's been at Google for quite a while. This is now you've been in it for about 4 months. Is that right?
Yeah, and at Website Optimizer for about 4 months, and Google about 2.5 years.
2.5 years. He was part of the team that launched the Google Ad Planner product as well, and was a founding member of the Google for Business Educators program. So without any further ado, there you go.
Hi there, everyone. Again, my name is Trevor Claiborne. I'm the product marketing manager for Website Optimizer. What's Website Optimizer? It's a free tool from Google that lets you do A/B testing and multivariate testing. Now, those testing, really what it means is you can try different content on your web page and see what drives the most conversions. An A/B test is simply an A page versus a B page. Pretty simple. Put this into practice. Merchant Warehouse. They're a company that provides credit card processing services for businesses. This is their page. You might end up here if you were searching for credit card processing services, and you click on an ad, you end up here. Here's where you want to convert. This page was doing OK, but there's a few possibilities in what we can improve here. So they've got their headline here on the top. Is there a laser pointer on this? Oh, there is. So the headline here on the top. Then you've got this box here, which it kind of has some features and benefits. And then, of course, you've got most of the page taken up by this form. This is the page they tried to test against it. So you can see they changed a few different things. See the headline here. Don't waste time. Get a merchant account in as little as 24 hours. That's maybe a more impactful headline. It's also the previous headline, you can see, was kind of in the blue. So they tried punching the headline up by putting it in orange. They replaced this section here with testimonials. And then the biggest change, obviously, is the form. They broke it up, they made it shorter, and what were the results? They saw a 15% increase in conversions. 15%. Not rocket science of changes. Just tried one page here, and it did very well for them. A multivariate test, on the other hand, is when you break your page up into sections. So you've got your headline, your call to action button, maybe an image, maybe a description, and maybe you've got some ideas on what could be better. So you try a different headline, maybe free trial instead of buy now. You try these different things section by section, and you run all the different combinations, and you find out what converts best. So this is an example from Google. This is the AdWords UK page. Some of you might be familiar with the AdWords homepage. And we wanted to run a test on it and see if we could improve our conversions. So we've got 4 different areas we're focusing on. We've got our headline here, advertise your business on Google. We've got this blurb, which is a description of what AdWords does. An infographic, which maybe is a visual way of explaining it. And then our call to action button. Now, Start Now, that was the result of a previous website optimizer test. We ran 12 different combinations of call to action buttons. And Start Now was that winner for us. In this case, we had 4 different combinations for each one. So 256 different pages we tested to find the best one. So these are different sections highlighted. This is what we came up with. So you can see we got a new headline, attract more customers. The blurb stayed the same, no changes. We have a different infographic, and we found that try AdWords now was going to be the best for us. The lift that we saw here, 50% increase in conversions. It's a big jump. And if you think of the amount of traffic we get to this page, it's a lot of new advertisers. So with those 2 examples, I want to share a few best practices. And these are simple, but they're very important. The first one is Start Now. If you're not testing, for whatever reason, start now. And you think, it's difficult, I don't have time. It takes 20 minutes. So this is Nerdy Shirts. What do? They sell nerdy t-shirts. They've got this one here, Let It Be. If you're a Beatles fan, you might find amused. I like this one for some reason. I don't know. Je ne sais quoi about it. They did this test. Add to cart versus buy it. They changed one button on their page. This test took them 20 minutes, a week to collect the data, 7% increase. Now, buy it. Buy it was the better one for them. So 7% increase in conversions in 20 minutes. Yes?
How many instances did they have to test? What was the sample size?
They ran it over a week. I don't know what their traffic level is, but after a week, the Website Optimizer product said that you have 95% confidence that this is your winner. So that's our first test. Animation got a little mixed up there. So Start Now. It's easy, it's fast, you get a lot of benefit from it. The other one I want to talk about is Test Often. So you think 7% conversion rate, that's not a huge deal, that's not really worth my time. So let's talk about that. This is your current conversion rate. It's nice and flat, and if you're lucky, it's flat. Maybe it'll go down. These are conversions without testing. Let's say you're on your first test. You get a 7% lift. Yay, you run another test. You do a little bit better, 13% increase. Not uncommon. You run another test. This one, you did about the same, 12% increase. And then you have this great idea, and you try it, and hey, it works. 19% increase. You put all those together, that's a 61% increase over your old conversion rate. You run a test per month, and you only make 3% increase every month, you're still going to see a 64% increase over the year. So over time, you can really dramatically increase your conversion rate, and that's really what we're about. And then I'm going to share 2 advanced testing strategies with you. The first one is called multi-page multivariate. So a traditional multivariate test, you've got a test page, you've got a conversion page. And you put a little script there, and you set that up, and it works fine. What if you want to test through a flow? What if you want to test people going from here? Let's say this is your shopping cart page, that's your checkout page, and that's your conversion. So what do? Well, you can put the section scripts that say what content to put on there. You can put those across the different pages. And that will let you test across the different process, and you'll still find out what the best combination of content was, even though you're moving across different pages. So if you want to try something across all these different pages, you can do that. It works very easily. Also, this is called the don't bounce test. So if you're familiar with bounce, it's when someone visits your page and leaves. They don't go any deeper. And if you're paying for traffic to come to your page, someone bouncing sucks. So what if you could test and find what didn't bounce? So this is your traditional page. You got your scripts on here, scripts there. For the don't bounce test, instead of having one conversion, you put a conversion tag on every page that leaves your landing page. This way, as long as someone doesn't bounce, you register that as a conversion. So what you can do, you run this test, you find out, okay, this level of content reduces my bounce rate. All right, now let's focus on getting them where I really want them. As long as they're sticking around, then I can start directing that traffic. So this is give you great direction for where you should take your landing page so people don't bounce, because bouncing sucks. Lastly, we're going to release something called the Techie Guide. This is going to be an in-depth look at the technical details of Website Optimizer. It's got more advanced strategies, also more detailed testing with dynamic content. We're going to be releasing this in the next couple of weeks. You can watch the GWO blog, websiteoptimizer.blogspot for that. And if you're looking for more resources, you can, of course, go to our homepage, google.com/websiteoptimizer, our blog. And also, some of you may have seen Tim Ash speak yesterday. So he's got a great book. Also, Brian Eisenberg has another book, Always Be Testing. And with that, I'm going to pass it on. Thank you.
I lost my name. So with that, great presentation on a lot of the strategies and some good case studies, too. I mean, it is absolutely important to keep stacking your tests one on top of another. And to never forget that it isn't about the 7%. It is about that 61% that really makes the big difference. So next up, Beth Kirsch. She is currently the VP of Marketing and Business Development at uAmplify, which is a startup marketing platform for social media optimization. And when did you launch that?
Well, we've been around for 2 years.
2 years.
We launched it last quarter.
Last quarter, OK. So just launched. Before founding uAmplify, she held management positions in marketing and sales at companies like Like.com, Lower My Bills, and Audible. She's a regular speaker at industry conferences, including AdTech, Affiliate Summit, and the DMA.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm starting with, I think my slides are backwards. OK, so we'll start here. So I wanted to add the advertiser perspective, because I don't think as advertisers we talk enough about landing pages and how it impacts our affiliate programs. And personally, I believe landing pages are the largest lever of your business in an online environment. And the affiliate channel, it's particularly true. So, to take a story, Lower My Bills when during the refi boom was dominated the online marketplace in terms of the affiliate market space. I mean, I was managing that affiliate program, and we turned affiliates away all the time because we just couldn't handle all the leads we were being sent. That's how much people wanted to work with us. Now, it wasn't because we paid more than our competition out there, because we didn't, but we did convert better. And people would call me up and be like, I've tested, Lending Tree and Lower My Bills and, all the other players in the space, and, I make more money with you. And that was it. And I was paying less money than a lot of those guys in the space. And the reason that it was working was Lower My Bills consistently converted better and consistently converted like clockwork. And it allowed us to basically knock all of our competition in a hyper-competitive commodity space off these affiliate pages. And we dominated. So that's kind of the first part, and I can also say the same thing about Audible, but it wasn't as hyper-competitive. In terms of thinking about it as an advertiser, you really need to test your landing pages by channel and even by verticals within your affiliate space. So I'll talk a little bit about Audible for a second. So at Audible, we actually broke down our landing page tests by paid channel. So we had a paid media landing page that we'd optimized. We had a search landing page that we'd optimized. We had an affiliate page that we had optimized. And we got significant lifts through that as we optimized our pages. When we actually gave the affiliates our search landing page, our search affiliates, the search landing page, we got something like a 25% lift just from that for those guys. Okay, so I wanted to just quickly give a visualization of what this is like. So this is at the very tail end here. This is when we put a new landing page in the affiliate channel in CJ. When we got a 25% lift in our EPC in 7 days, because EPC is over a 7-day period in this case, just by a landing page. So affiliates saw we were paying out more money, affiliates were making more money, and it wasn't costing me any more money as an advertiser. I had not raised my commissions. And I remember, like, right after this, we got a flurry of applications to our program. Oh, and the other point that I really wanted to make about this, especially in Audible, so when I started at Audible, we had basically a 2% conversion rate across our channels. We had increased it to about 6 or 7%, and then we had increased it again to about 12 to 13%. And it was really a combination of not just your landing pages, but your product and your reg path, and getting that formula right between the three. And I think it's really important that, you know, as advertisers, we have the ability to really package and productize our products differently for different channels, and that was actually really, really important. So, you know, use Audible again as a case study, is that we had the 30-day free trial we actually made more money off of in affiliates, and the 15 or 14-day free trial we actually made more money off of in search. And really understanding how to work the product side in conjunction with the landing page really helps drive revenue, and it will help drive revenue for everybody. And then at Lower My Bills, at times we really talked about having a different number of fields for affiliate channel versus search and monetizing it differently. So you really just need to not only look at your landing page optimization, but also look at kind of what you're doing on your product side and your wrapping side to really make sure you can optimize the whole cycle.
Good, thank you. I'm good. Thank you. It's great to see how big of an impact this can really have on the entire program, right? And some real life case studies here where it can generate, you know, a lot more benefits for both the publishers and the advertisers in this case. So working together to figure out how you can have landing pages that will match each of the publishers, each of the categories that are out there that are more targeted towards the profiles of the people makes a huge difference in the relationship between the publishers and the advertisers. So with that, we wanted to invite up Lisa Crossley-Hunter from CJ. She actually runs the search division for CJ, and is here to talk a little bit about how you combine search and the impact of search on the affiliate program as well, and how that plays into the conversion optimization. Prior to joining CJ, Lisa's been in the industry for over 9 years, companies like IdeaArc Media and Agency.com, and comes from the consulting world at Accenture before that. So welcome, Lisa.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I know it's after lunch, and I know it's a pretty packed room, so I'm happy to see that all of you stayed. And thank you very much for that. I wanted to spend a little bit of time sort of taking this up just a little bit from a level standpoint, and we will get back to specific landing page examples, but I wanted to talk a little bit about channel optimization. So when we talk about search and affiliates, I sit in a really interesting position because I am in charge of search, but I also sit within an affiliate world with CJ. And so I have a very interesting vantage point where I can see both the search and the affiliate channels, where they intersect, where they overlap, and especially where they conflict. And they do conflict, and I think anyone who's been in the industry for more than 5 minutes knows that there is some conflict between search and affiliate. And I've talked about this before, I spoke about it at CJU, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about is kind of raising this up a level a bit and say, okay, we've got these two great channels, but if we don't manage them, if we don't optimize them, and sort of going down the optimization path to landing pages, we can come up with some issues. Trademark bidding, display URL usage, ad copy, those things, if they're not managed, again, can lead to higher CPCs, can lead to higher CPAs, can lead to lower overall return on investment for everyone. And that's really not where we want to go. We really want to be able to optimize both of these channels. They're very powerful. They drive a ton of revenue, and they drive it at a very efficient cost. So how do we do that? And again, very quickly, I've only got a couple of slides on this, but I wanted to look at how we cooperate between a search and affiliate. Some of the things for advertisers to think about, especially in these economic times, is how do we actually get search and affiliate to play well together? Again, they generate a lot of revenue. They generate it at a very low cost. So how do we make those channels, again, work together but optimize them? Let's take a couple of the conflict points. Ad copy, some things to think about on the advertiser side. Define what can and cannot be used by your affiliates. How do you want your brand to actually be displayed out there? Be explicit about the use of your brand. Outline how often promotions change so publishers out there can understand the level of effort that's required to actually keep up with your program. One of the other points of conflict, usually in the search engine results page, are natural listings. So if you have an affiliate who's actually outranking you on the SEO side, how do you deal with that? Well, one of the things that you need to look at are your own internal efforts. What are you doing on the SEO piece? What are your affiliates doing that maybe you can borrow from? Publishers are very entrepreneurial. They're very creative. So being able to talk to them, being able to brainstorm with them on these issues is extremely important. Trademark bidding. That's one of the biggest conflict points, I think, within the industry. Some of the things to think about as an advertiser are your competitors bidding on your trademarks or your branding terms? And if so, why don't you use your affiliates or your publishers to actually take over some of that search engine results landing page space? Do you need coverage in off hours based on your budget limitations? We've had clients who don't have enough budget to cover all of the time, the 24-hour cycle. And so potentially you want to use your affiliates, again, to cover that so that you're not losing out on that opportunity and that revenue. Do you have high-performing publishers that leverage your brand well? Again, you probably want to spend a little bit more time with them, understand how they're using your brand, and how you could actually create a better partnership with them. And then the last one is display URL usage, and I save this for last because it leads into the landing page optimization discussion. So again, because of the way that the search engines actually have set up their guidelines, only one person can use the display URL. So whether it's an affiliate or the actual owner or the advertiser of that specific URL, if you're both bidding on a keyword and want to use that display URL, the search engines are only going to pick one, and they're going to pick the one that actually performs the best. Some of the things to think about, instead of saying, nope, I'm sorry, none of my affiliates can use my display URL, maybe there are some affiliates out there who actually have better landing pages than you do for specific categories, for specific keywords. So when you're looking at optimizing your channel, maybe you want to take some of the media spend that you're basically throwing away if you don't have good landing pages and put that towards actually building better landing pages for your affiliate channel. Who has the better pages? That's where you really want to focus your efforts. And so I think one of the things that, as Olivier had spoken to, is everyone is different. Everyone in this audience is different. I can make some very sweeping generalizations about who you are based on the context. So we're here at Affiliate Summit. We're at a landing page optimization discussion. So most of you are probably advertisers or publishers. Most of you have probably done landing page optimization or are interested in landing page optimization. But that may only cover 75% of you. So maybe there are some CMOs or some VPs of online advertising who want to understand what their managers are talking about when they speak about landing page optimization. And so hopefully in what we're talking about, we can, from the content perspective, meet the needs of most of the people in this audience, but there's going to be a percentage where it's not. So how do we redefine our content to reach those particular audiences? And so when you're thinking about landing page optimization from an audience standpoint, you've got these two great channels, search and affiliate. And thinking that creating one landing page that's going to reach both of those audiences is probably not going to get you the conversion rates that you're looking for. So while I am a total advocate of an optimized page, going to an optimized page versus a non-optimized page, if you can actually get down to one more level of optimizing it for channels, you're actually going to increase your conversion rates. And I've got one example of that. So for one of our clients, They really wanted to look at optimizing both their search and their affiliate traffic. So we had 3 product lines: shared hosting, dedicated hosting, and email. You can see on, so on the left-hand side we have the control page, and that was the control page for both channels. And then we actually developed very similar pages for each of the channels, but tested them. What worked better for search is not what worked better for the affiliate side. So we actually optimized the shared hosting page and got a conversion rate lift of 67%, just based on what we put out there for search. On the affiliate side, a completely different page worked. And it worked so well that we got a 454% conversion lift. So if we had used the one page for both channels, there's a lot of revenue and a lot of opportunity that would be sitting on the table right now. So as Trevor said, start now, start early. It doesn't have to be very complicated. You could start with a button, or you could start with an entire page change. But also understand that when you're testing, if you're not testing for different demographics, if you're not testing those different channels and your different audiences, then you potentially could be losing a lot of revenue and a lot of opportunity. So I just wanted to highlight, based on our experience, that we really need to focus on your different audiences and the different expectations and the different needs of those audiences, because again, you could see some tremendous lift. And I know in these economic times, a lot of us aren't going to be able to spend more money on media. So perhaps we need to take a look at that and maybe reallocate some of that budget to landing page optimization and really increasing what we are able to do with that media by increasing our conversion rates.
Who wants 450% lift? I want to figure it out for us too. This has a huge impact on the entire program. As you can see, just small changes, sometimes redesigns, not necessarily things that look better. That's one of the things that we learned, is that often making things too pretty, too well designed, you'll actually misread the audience, and you're going to have a bad reaction. It'll either look like a premium brand or a more expensive product when that's not the image that you want to present. One of our clients did a huge website redesign, and their conversion rate dropped by 30%. I mean, that's horrible. And they didn't do any testing. They just said, oh, we're going to redesign it. We're going to spend, I think they spent 4 or 5 months redesigning this website. I think there was a new applicant to the job pool there, probably. So as the moderator, I get to step in and ask the first question, but I wanted to really leave the majority of this for you guys. So think about your questions. I think we've got a mic that will come around, so raise your hand and we'll have somebody come by with the mic. So first question for the panel. We've heard about a lot of things that have worked well. We've heard about things that have had a huge impact. What are some things that we shouldn't do? Who wants to go first? Go ahead.
I think the first thing that you should, although we say start now, start as soon as possible, don't start without a plan. So you need to test it. The other thing, so don't start without a plan. The other thing is you need to test it. So as Olivier had said, there are some people who will invest a lot of time. You'll sit in a room with a committee, and everyone has an opinion about what will convert. And that's great. But if you haven't tested it, it's just an assumption. So you could have 30 different ideas and try to jam them all into one page or prioritize the things that you think are going to work. But again, it's an assumption. You think it's going to work. And 9 times out of 10, what you think is going to work is not what's going to work. So you have to test it. Start with a plan, understand all your variables, and then test it.
Right. And to just emphasize that point and bring it home with a story, in one job I made my team before we actually really started an aggressive testing program, guess what was going to work and move the needle? And out of a team of about 8 people, nobody got it right.
Yeah. And just to add on this point, where we get our assumptions of how something's going to do. If you are looking at something that did well for someone else, and then you were like, oh, I'll just copy that, it may not do very well. We've seen time and time again that testing on pages, each page is unique, each page has its own audience. So just because something worked well for another company doesn't mean it'll work well for you. So you should always test.
Right, and don't assume an optimized page that works today is going to work the same way 6 months from now. I mean, that's actually the other thing, that people's behavior changes, what they respond to changes.
Great. One other question. What do you see as the biggest challenges for this year
Okay, well, that's an easy
with
one.
conversion optimization?
I think everything is, I think the biggest thing that we're all talking about is the economy, what's happened in the last 3 months. And so I think for everyone here, the biggest challenge is going to be getting more with less. I think that's everybody's mantra. And so we're not going to potentially be able to spend our way out of this issue. So we need to figure out how to get more efficient. And I think a lot of us in the industry have been speaking about this for 3, 4, 7 years. We need to increase conversion rates. Is it okay that, as you said, 98% of the people who are coming to your site are leaving without converting? What if, and run the numbers, what if you could get just 1 more percentage point, just 2 more percentage points? What is that going to do to your top line? What's that going to do to your bottom line? And then how are you going to be able to cream your competition because you have the extra margin? So being able to do more with less, really taking a look at your budgets. I know a lot of them are being cut, but instead of, again, spending more money on media, take a look internally and see how you can actually increase your conversion rates.
Well, and I actually think of that, working off of what you do, it's an opportunity if you're optimizing your pages, because media is dirt cheap right now. I mean, you just go around the web and see, who's not buying and how much are just basically remnant ads at this point. You can get your landing page converted enough, you can go out and buy more media. And I mean, that's actually a point to really drive home. So you get your metrics lined up in a recession, you can actually use it to your advantage.
I'm not going to add anything else. That was great.
Good. All right, questions from the audience.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos Lopez from valuetailor.com. And I have a question. As a publisher, how do I make landing page optimization when the conversion page is on the merchant website? How do you recommend to do so? Send the variables to the merchant and wait for a report, or using multiple IDs, or what kind of approach or workaround can be found to solve that problem?
So that's a common problem, and generally the thing that you're going to run into is that you're not going to be able to necessarily change that final conversion on that page. So all you can do is make sure that the traffic that you're sending, you're getting the most out of it. So you would sort of call this like a proxy conversion, and you would test to make sure that you were sending the most qualified traffic over to that page. And if you can improve that, chances are you're going to also improve the overall conversions. And then, once you have that case, you can say, hey, you can talk to your vendor and say, we need to start optimizing your pages too. And I know, Beth, you were talking about this, how advertisers can optimize their page, make their offers more competitive.
Right. So, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to jump in on you.
So, I mean, advertisers can really work with you to optimize and give you the right offers for your channel, which will help conversion. But to kind of play off of that, you actually do own an exit point, right? You own the click-through rate. That's a number that you can optimize. That drives your business forward. So instead of sending, having a click-through rate of 2%, you can make that 4%. You have a 100% greater chance of traffic converting on the merchant site then, right? So there are numbers and metrics that you can really work, and you can drive those forward, because at the end of the day, the metric you should be backing out on the publisher side, or one of the key metrics for you, is revenue per visitor. So if you're sending twice as much traffic, you're going to get twice as much, revenue per visitor if your conversion rate on the merchant page stays the same. So, I mean, that's really, on a publisher side, what I would be focusing on.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Great question. We have somebody up front here.
Hi, my name is John Hogan with SeaEagle.com. I was wondering if anybody has any hard experience testing trust-building seals that are supposed to build conversion from like Trustee or McAfee or Better Business Bureau or any places like that. If there's any hard numbers on whether they actually do or not.
Hi, John. Marketing Sherpa has that data. Like, if you go back through the Marketing Sherpa, like, I've read that data. It's about a 10% lift consistently when I've seen that. I have not tested that those seals were always on the sites that I was working on.
One of the other things that we found really interesting is that it's not as much which seal is on there, it's the fact that you have them on there. And so you could have 20 different seals, you could have 3, they could be trustee or they could be some seal that you made up. And quite frankly, it actually, all of those will have a positive impact on your conversion rate. But be careful, because if you put it in the wrong place, it can get in the way and it can decrease your conversion rate, so test it. Did you want to add something here? We've got.
We've done quite a bit of testing with the McAfee seal in particular. One other thing is test which version of it you use. They have different colors, some skinnier ones, some fatter ones, and also where it goes in your page shell. So just assume that sticking a seal on the page is good enough. Test the more granular stuff.
And for those of you who don't know, this is the author of the landing page conversion book, and Tim Ash.
Tim Ash, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. All right, next question.
Yeah, Shane Menking with Giga News Inc. I'm curious, what's an appropriate sample size, duration to kind of, basically feel like you got enough empirical data to call a test and, make your decision?
Great question.
Use a tool.
Right.
Because I have had that question come up so many different times. It's like, well, how many? Well, that depends. It depends on what you're offering. It depends on how long should it be? Well, that depends. How are you going to get a sample size? And so you need a tool that's going to give you some statistical significance, whether it's Web Optimizer or some of the other tools that are out on the marketplace. You need something that's going to tell you, yes, this is the winner. Because again, if you don't have enough of a sample size, or if you have 100 or 1,000 and all of a sudden, it's still a 50-50 split, again, you still need to continue to test. So you need that data, you need that information, so you definitely need to use a tool in order to make better decisions about how you're optimizing.
Absolutely. And I want to add one other thing, which is, think about the cost of running that test. Do you really need 95% confidence that the test is successful before you put the majority of the traffic onto that winner? What about 60%? What about 70%? And so one of the things that I caution people about is waiting too long for this hope that they're going to get this 95% confidence. The thing is, if you run that same test the next week, the numbers could be different, right? Your 7% lift over time is going to change. So think about the cost of the test and what you're really trying to get out of it. Ultimately, it's figuring out which direction is going to generate the most revenue. So be careful about the cost of testing, especially with multivariate testing systems, where if you have too many different versions, it can take a lot of traffic before you get to that 95% confidence interval.
Right, and I would also look at the tools that are out there, because there are definitely different tools that some take more traffic, some take less traffic, and they have different approaches. Like Olivier's company has a very different approach than Google Optimizer. Both are great, both work. They offer different things.
Mm-hmm. And just to throw a hard number out there, our general rule of thumb is you need around 100 conversions per variation you're testing. So an A/B test, you need at least 200 conversions. And then you always want to run your test for at least a week to negate any day of the week effects. People convert on Mondays. So those are kind of just rules of thumb, but any tool will tell you, hey, you have a winner, or hey, we don't know yet.
Great. Next question.
Charlie Kilmer, PPC Marketing. I'm going to take home from this conference the business cards from about 49 different lead gen networks that my staff will evaluate. And we'll probably only use about 4 or 5 of them. And the primary criteria will not be, who is paying the most, paying the most per ad for the same product, but rather how well they convert and the way they, and that will be a function of how well the landing page converts. The question I want to ask you guys is, if you were to lay on the question of responsibility for conversion, what percentage would you give for search affiliates? Nicely targeted keywords, nicely targeted ad copy, and what percentage of responsibility for conversion would you give to the landing page, which the lead gen networks put out?
So the question is, how much of the conversion is traffic versus landing pages and the rest of it, right?
No, not sure that I can give a specific number, and Beth, you can jump in here too. I think what we look at is click-through rates when it comes to the search affiliates. So it's incumbent upon them to have great ad copy, great titles, something that's going to generate some interest, but something that hopefully is going to qualify that traffic as well as convertible traffic. So you don't want someone who's out there saying, hey, it's a free offer, when actually it's a paid offer just to generate traffic. So you do have to look at click-through rate and then looking at conversion rates on those specific landing pages. If they don't have, again, from a publisher's standpoint, if they don't have access to that landing page, if they are not the conversion point, and I'm really talking about more on the e-commerce side, you get to a coupon site or you get to a content site, it's incumbent upon them to then convert that specific traffic. I call it sort of a micro conversion, converting that traffic to the final conversion page. It is incumbent upon them to actually get that traffic to the other site. If they're lead gen, again, and they are responsible for those landing pages, and so they're doing the ad copy, they're doing the keyword selection, and they're doing the landing page, then I would say that almost 100% is on their shoulders to make sure that that is converting.
Well, but that it's converting on the landing page, but that lead has to be converting on the back end too, so there's still one other piece. I think that's a really hard question in general because I think traffic quality just varies, and it'll vary by keyword, vary by campaign, and so it's kind of hard to back it out.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that is, one of the things I really hate is when people say, oh, I've got a whole bunch of bad traffic. What you really mean is that you've got traffic that isn't converting with the pages that you have. And so when you look at scaling any business, you have to be able to not just have great search keywords, great ad copy. You've got to be able to open the funnel and say, I'm going to take a lot more traffic. And when you do that, you have to understand the differences in the landing pages that are going to convert the great quality traffic and the traffic that needed maybe a stronger, more compelling offer, maybe a different user experience that's going to draw them through that process. It's really easy to convert people that are coming from search and desperately want your product. They typed in your company name and the SKU. Of course they're going to convert easily. But somebody who's looking much more broadly at digital cameras, for example, it's going to take a while longer to convert them, and it definitely isn't going to work with a product page the way that somebody who's typing in a SKU would need. Next question.
So if you are starting,
can you give us your name and your company?
Oh, sorry.
Sure.
Steve Daly with citypass.com. If you are thinking of a site redesign and you want to test into that, do you start with, say, 3 different designs that you think would work, like full pages, so you're kind of doing the A/B testing, and then work down from that? Or how would you go about from looking at it from a site redesign, I guess is my question, and what would be the plan of implementation?
Great question.
I would say
Trevor?
that's a great approach. I mean, if you start with A/B, you're testing, a whole page versus a whole page. The one thing I would stress is that, those 3 designs should be kind of radically different from your original page. As long as you're testing entirely different pages, you should really go out and see, like, oh, where should I take this? What direction? Once you've tested, a few, very different pages, you should have a good direction. And then I would, start working with multivariate testing, and then, work in, what are the key elements? How can I really optimize those? What's the best headline? What's the best call to action button? And then focus in, and then you'll have, a great performing page. And then keep on testing because things change.
But only test with a small part of your traffic, like 5 to 10% of your traffic. And, like, don't put 50% of your traffic on a new test, or at least I wouldn't do that.
The other thing is, and agree with me, disagree with me, this is something that I think is sort of the way to go, but again, it's up for debate. But a lot of people talk about their homepage, and we should redesign our homepage. That's sort of our marquee page. And what I'd like to tell people is there are lots of exits and entry points into your site. Your homepage is one of them, but when you're actually driving people to more internal content, whether it's a category page or an actual product page where you want them to convert, you may want to start there first. and take a look at what's going to work well for a product page, what's going to work well for a category page, before you go and tackle the home page. A lot of people, again, it's their marquee page. It's the one thing that they think, oh, we redesigned the home page, everything's going to be great, and we're going to increase our conversion rates. That's not where people are converting. People are converting deeper into your site. So I would say if you're going to start somewhere from a redesign standpoint, take a look at what's going to work on those deeper level pages, and then take some of the design ideas and figure out how that then folds into your home page.
Absolutely.
Hi, it's Alethea from Skimlinks. There just seems to be so many different variables that you could potentially change on a page. You know, you've got the wording and the copy, you've got the colors and the imagery used, you've got the layout, putting bits onto different pages, etc., or different sections of the site. Potentially infinite number of combinations. In your experience, and there may not even be an answer for this, but is there a sort of a hierarchy of things that are worth testing? Is it copy that you should try and play with first, or layout, or colors and images and so on? Do you have a view on that?
We were talking about it last night over dinner, and I think you had some interesting comments, so if you want to throw that out.
It's really a personal thing on the site. Every site is different, but just pick something and go with it. To be honest, like if you ruminate on all the different possibilities, you're not going to run any tests. So pick 2 things you want to play with, and try maybe 3 different things on each. That'll give you 6 combinations. It's a rather small test. See where that goes. But also, most of the testing tools will tell you what section of a page was the most impactful on the conversion rate. So you'll see like, oh, changes to the headline were really impactful, but changing the image didn't really do very much. So you can take that data and go forward, and that can help kind of limit into what's going to be the best use of your time. I'm sure there's other phones. So.
Well, I mean, it can be overwhelming, right? There are so many variables, there are so many different pages. So what I try to break it down, again, because you can get very overwhelmed, and I try to think about what are the conversion points? Where do I need to get people first? And so what I typically think about is again, and this is more retail than lead gen, but what does my shopping cart look like? Right. Have I gotten everyone down the primrose path, and now they're getting to the cash register, and now I've closed it? So what does that path look like? Do I have control over that? Kind of going back to the way things are set up with Verity or with McAfee, there are some best practices out there, and I'm sure I've read some of Brian Eisenberg, used to work with him, people who have done lots of testing in the past. And again, there's no silver bullet, but when I think about, okay, what's going to give me the biggest bang for my buck? If I've gotten someone with money or credit card in hand, if I'm shutting the door on them, that's a problem. Shopping cart abandonment rates are insane. So how do we open that up? And so I would say, again, just one person's opinion, but from a conversion standpoint, where do I want to get those people to? And then go back, what is the path? And how do we get them from one page to the next page to finally get them to make that conversion? And have you made it as streamlined and as easy as possible? So from my standpoint, it can be overwhelming, but I would almost start at the back end first and then work my way forward.
Right, and I mean, the other thing that I would say is if you're starting testing and you haven't tested before, look at kind of what your competitors are doing, try to figure out who's actually tested, and those are really good places to start. So last time I brought a product to market, I mean, we literally went and looked at our competitors who we knew had aggressively tested and optimized their site for SEO, and really looked at what they were doing, and basically copied a lot of that, got really far as quickly looking at that. And we weren't, this is actually one of my favorite stories. We weren't quite sure what we were going to get with each page, but we copied shopping.com at one point, and we thought we'd get better click-through rate, and we got SEO. But that works. So that's actually a way to start too.
So copy your competitors, test lots of stuff. Just start testing. Great. Next question.
Hi, Craig Delger with GearBuyer.com. I'm trying to get my arms around a balance between conversion rate and SEO. You could test a landing page and increase your conversion rate, but have a negative impact on your search engine optimization for that page. And follow-up to that would be, how about a balance between conversion rate and actual revenue for the page? I could see us building a landing page where our conversion rate went up because we were selling more of a lower dollar item versus by listing the items on that page in order from the highest price item to the lowest price item. Can you give me any insight on any of that?
Sure. Well, I'm going to take the last part of that question, then I'll turn the rest of it over. Absolutely measure everything on revenue per visitor. Conversion rates are meaningless, right? I'd much rather sell $1 million product than $100,000 products, right? And so looking and using revenue per visitor, you can equalize a lot of the other stuff, and you can also then really easily see how it lines up with your costs, right? And say, okay, well, what's my cost per visitor? And you know, as long as I'm profitable, I can keep spending more and more money. But anybody want to add?
I also had thoughts on like the revenue one. So first off, we've never really had anyone come to us and say, hey, my conversion rate went up, but I'm not making any more money. So it is a logical like fear, but we haven't really seen it happen. But other things you can do a conditional conversion. You can say, only count this as a conversion if the shopping cart rate is greater than $200. And so that will only measure. And so you can test what content drives high value conversions. You could do something like that. On the SEO side, it's really a balance. You're going to make changes that improve your site experience and make it a better page. That shouldn't hurt your SEO, but there's always possibilities.
Well, and I also think the other thing is, and if you look at the people who are very, very aggressive on SEO and very, very aggressive on conversion, they really have different pages on their site doing both, right? They've segmented it. So, their SEO pages are one set. They're optimized for SEO. Their landing pages, especially for paid traffic, is a different set, and they've optimized towards conversion. So you can really start to segment it like that, and you actually should be segmenting it like that in the long run.
Well, and they're different audiences, right? Paid versus organic, and same thing with banner ads and everywhere else. So trying to come up with one experience that's going to work for both is probably not a good solution. Great. Next question. Any more questions out there? Where's the mic? Great. We have time for one last question, right? Great. Right up here. Sorry, I'm getting the hand signals back there.
My name is Dan Geisler with BroadwayBox.com, and the question is, since you recommend to do two different pages, one for optimized for search engine and the other one for activity, are you going to lose the page rank? How will it influence the page rank of those once we have more than one page? Or we split the power of pages?
Why is everyone looking at me?
Mr. Google?
So this is something that Matt Cutts has recently written about. And if you're testing, you're trying to improve the user experience. And if you have a duplicate page, it's not the same thing as like when you hear people like, oh, I have duplicate content, my page rank's going to go down. That's if you're crazy with duplicate content. I mean, if you have one duplicate page for different uses, that's not really duplicate content. It's not the same thing.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And as all things with Google, right, this is not a guarantee. Is that
I would say that I am not Matt Cutts.
Great. Well, we've got to wrap up. We're out of time. I know there's a lot of other questions. I'd love to hear about success stories about conversion optimization. And so you've got my email address as well as everybody else's contact information up there. Please send us some of the tests that you've done that have worked and those that haven't. Thank you very much. Thank you.